Okay, that's a perfect segue to talk about the animation of it, because I have a few things that I just want to say that are just of appreciation. One is the style of it is super unique. The only other time recently where I watched something where the animation was so unique and it really stood out was what's it called? The one with Miles Morales. What's the
Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, like that one was they were taking visual tropes from comic books and they were animating it, and that was so cool. In this case, it was like they're taking tropes from video games and then they're taking it to an animated world. So like the way that the people's their hair is designed looks very video game-y, but then so many other things are super detailed and realistic. And one of the things that you'll notice is that it's designed to look 3D except for like smoke and things like smoke effects. All of those are 2D.
They are.
So that creates this really fascinating sense of like depth and realism, but yet we're still in a fantasy world. And that was a really cool decision, I thought.
Well, and is this considered steampunk by any stretch?
Yeah, that's probably considered steampunk.
I think it is. I read that and I went, "Oh yeah, steampunk." So
my first thought was
many people would
call it that. But it does deviate, or it has its own feel to it. Really, it's almost like Renaissance and steampunky, but also with the magic, with the hex tech, I should say. It does have its own feel, but I thought the animation was a 10 out of 10. I mean, just right off the bat. But also the way the characters are animated in their acting, the facial expressions, the subtle.
That was the next thing I was going to say.
Okay, well, and we should talk about it too. Their ability to animate what seem to be very good fistfights and battle scenes that are coherent, functional, spatially, and are entertaining at the same time. They're also entertaining.
Yeah, on the note of like the acting, like it's really top tier. Like I wrote here that like it feels like the level of realism I get watching live action. Like all the little quirks in people's faces, like it's not quite there, but it was so close. Like I feel like experientially, emotionally, I was responding to these characters the way I do, like almost like 98% there when I'm looking at like real people's faces. And I think it was all like I'm trying to remember. I don't think they did any motion capture for this. I think this was all just like traditional.
Was it?
No motion capture?
I don't think so. But they used references. So I was watching I don't quote me on this because it's been a while since I watched behind the scenes. But the animators basically acted it themselves. So someone has a scene, and this is what animators do for this type of thing. But it's like, okay, I'm going to animate this part, and I'm going to like act it and feel myself acting it, and then do it. So in order to animate well, and especially like drama, like facial expressions, like you have to also be a good actor. So just such a praise and appreciation for the work.
Well, that's amazing to me because
keyframe, that's the phrase I'm looking for. Thank you.
Keyframed, because there are, like you said, if the animators are using themselves as models to get the keyframing right, then that's incredible, because there are scenes where there's like people do double takes, or like there's scenes. There was a couple scenes with Vi and Kate where so much of the acting was just in like eye movement.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, like how are you getting this so so perfect, like to where I can read every emotion passing through here in an animated show. And I got to be honest, I thought they did motion capture a big portion of this. So
it made me really, especially today thinking about it, it made me really like honestly change my opinion a little bit on animation, because I always feel that when there's a certain level, like there's certain kind of stories when I want a certain kind of connection that I'm always like, oh, that has to be live action. But it genuinely changed my mind a little bit. I was like, well, if you have someone that can animate as well as this studio did, I should look up their names so we can reference them by name. You could tell any story. Like, okay, let me look this up.
The BGD, welcome. Good to see you, BGD. Says the visual dissonance between 2D and 3D elements in the animation is used strategically for purposes of alienation.
Oh, interesting. Very good.
I was aware.
Fortiche Production, that's their name. They're based in Paris. Anyway, Fortiche.
All right. Thank you. No, yeah, because I was very aware of that, because it does kind of shock you when all of a sudden you have the 2D element. So, yes, I was aware of that too. Yes.
Well, what's weird is it all seemed... so much of the show is intentional. So I never found myself questioning things. Like that one show that opens up with that like song with Echo. and the animation style changed. I was like, oh, I didn't have to question it. I could just sit back and enjoy that. I didn't have to ask whether this fit or whether it made sense or anything. And and actually, funny enough, one of the YouTube videos I watched, this guy deep dives into just that scene with Echo, and he has this incredible take on how it's all about Echo represents the present moment. Vander was about like the future, and Heimerdinger's all about the past, and how there's this huge juxtaposition between characters who are focused on either the past, the present, and the future, and that Echo represents a male hero who represents the present, which is, according to him, is pretty rare if you listen to him make his case. It's very interesting.
Any other notes on that, on the animation and stuff?
Well, I would also like to talk about the animation of the obviously the light and dark between the between Piltover and Zahn, done so well, in both cases. Usually, I don't know. In some cases, I feel like whichever side the author favors is the one, or the writer's favor gets all the good animation, and then the others. The upper world is so fantastical. Piltover, I love it. I love it that it's like steampunky, but it's really its own thing with the Hex and that giant hex gate. The airship,
like put it at a precise time in history, which in my opinion is how a good like fantasy world should feel. Like it should be. It has its own history, so why would it track our level of technology exactly? And it has magic, so of course it's going to be its own thing. But
yeah. Okay, that's good, Sable. A little bit of cyberpunk mixed in with a little bit of the steampunk. And even, you know what it reminded me of a little bit? Final Fantasy 7. Remember you had, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. What was it called? The plates. What was the name of the city in Final Fantasy 7?
I don't know that, that franchise.
You're right. It is
S, doesn't it? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank.
In the chat, help.
Final Fantasy 7. It was the upper city and then the lower city and the plates. Oh my God. This was it's like me forgetting the word Tatooine almost. Midgard. Yeah, Midgard. That's right.
Or Midgard?
Yeah, Midgard. And there's that plot line where the power baron, he blows up the plate and collapses it on the lower city. And it's really, anyway, this gave me some vibes from Final Fantasy 7 as well, in terms of that dichotomy world of the upper world and the lower world
I can see how this must be a fun game to play. Like, I feel like I want to go exploring this world. I want to walk around in it.
I would say that's right. I didn't pick up on the cyberpunk connection, but now that Sablepunk is we just
invented a genre.
We called Sablepunk now.
How do you feel, Sable, that you are now a punk?
So when we're discussing Sablepunk, that better be the genre of your stories now. But yeah, like I was just thinking about that. But when I'm looking at like Cyborg here, the RPGs, so there is a cyberpunk element to the Undercity, and then the steampunk Overcity. So you're right, it's both. It's both. Yes.
Lights and whatnot.
But man, they have some in terms of animation, the ability for the animators to imagine. Like there's those scenes where someone's standing and then this giant airship floats by close by in the background. I love those moments. I love, and the dragonflies that swarm in certain areas. They just did it. And there's some shots. I wish I could I wish I took screenshots that we could share while we're talking about all this even. But they have these circular windows or canal openings that characters will stand in, and it looks just so picturesque as animated.
There were a lot of cool transitions that I only noticed on a second watch, because they were so smooth and seamless. But someone puffs a round thing of smoke, and then it goes to a round tunnel or something. There were things like that happening constantly. They were so fast I didn't even think about it when I was watching it the first time. There's another thing I'd love to mention that I really appreciated. I feel like the show did a really good job with just not over explaining things. One of the things that is just I don't know, it's such a cool way to tell a story visually is when you're able to create some sort of a visual representation of something. So for example, there is that moment when I don't remember the name of the character, but the one that was trying to get Savika to betray Silco. He's having this conversation with her. He's trying to convince her.
The jaw?
Yeah, the one with the weird jaw. with like the golden jaw, whatever. He was trying to convince her, that Silco is out of his depth and that he's incompetent and all these things. And she's sitting there thinking about it. And there's just a physical gesture that is done, like a physical action that represents, further the conversation that we don't even need to hear, which is just that she's got a cigarette in her mouth, and then he offers the lighter, and she waits a few seconds, she's thinking about it, and then she accepts the light, and then it cuts. But you already understand what that means.
Yes.
That means that she is now agreeing to work with him. And then they use that moment again later, where there was when the place was attacked, and they're looking and they're seeing the dead bodies, and they're like, what, Jinx is going to solve this for you, blah, blah. People are critiquing Silco. And meanwhile, that guy with the jaw, he looks over at Savika, and all he does is he just flips his lighter. And you immediately know what he's saying. He's saying, see what I told you? Like, here he is, and then also later when she changes her mind, or it's hard to tell if she changed her mind last minute or if she was planning it all along, but she, kills him instead of portraying Silco. And what she do? She goes and picks up his lighter.
Yeah.
I just thought that was that's just such good, cinematic language that I really want to embody more of that when I'm writing. Just a really good reminder of find ways to communicate things with just visual motifs like that. And you don't have to say a word, and people put it together. That excited me.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny. I zeroed in on that exact same moment where she let him light her cigar or cigarette.
A cigar, whichever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too, because I was like, okay, that's the body language of I accept your offer. And
yes.
My take though is that she planned to betray him all along. I got the sense that she was.
You're probably right.
Loyal to Silco.
But that I think she's doubting a little bit. She doesn't like this guy. And she even says that to him. He was like, are you tempted? And she goes, not for, a loser. Yeah. She didn't say it's loser, but something like that. But she's like, but he won't be the last. So she was kind of implying, yeah, I'm a little tempted to betray you.
This time I didn't betray you.
So watch out. But get your shit together, please. I don't.
But it also shows but it also shows what a cool customer Silco was. He let her get into that position where he had no defense, and he just let that play out, hoping that she was loyal.
It was like a power play on his end, because it was it would have made him look weak if he tried to frantically stop the situation. Instead, he said the right words. That's one of his powers, really, is through words and through persuading people to be on his side and to see things the way he sees things. He just said the right words, and he was calm, and either they convinced her in the moment, or she was already convinced, but either way, same result.